Hey, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh. Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth and citations to the sincere Akim and Aquath and innocent. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Require. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And today's lesson, in regards to some of the things that Vocab's been doing, showing himself to be a hypocrite and trying to essentially slander us, basically, I kind of wanted to read through this story in the Apocrypha known as Susanna. And Lord's will is always this will be edifying, right? Because you know what Vocab has been doing. He's very, very hypocritical because he would try and condemn us and create bear false witness, so to speak. And one of the things he doesn't do, like for example that whole situation with those imposters, and they were in the tunnels, like there was alarming evidence with these imposters in the tunnels, and there was evidence of baby carriages and bunk beds and stuff like that, and baby high chairs, but no one turns a blind eye. Sorry, people turn a blind eye, I should say, right? But like the scriptures say, they're not in trouble as other men, and neither are they plagued as other men, right? They have a whole ADL, what's it called, organization that protects these people, right? They're thoroughly despised. But anyways, that's not really the objective. I'm just showing the hypocrisy. I kind of wanted to just read the book of Susanna for a little bit. And Lord's will is always this lesson may be edifying, right? So that's okay. So let me go to, as a matter of fact, let me define the word Susanna, excuse me, slander. Let's go to the etymology. Okay. Okay, so to slander somebody, it means in the etymology, it says state of impaired reputation, disgrace, dishonor, a false tale, or report spread maliciously, a fabrication, a dissemination of false tales to discredit somebody. It says scandalous statement. It says scandal. In Latin, scandalum, to cause offense, stumbling block, temptation, right? So to cause, essentially, put a stain on somebody's reputation, right? So just to show, and it reminded me of this account right here, right? So I want to read a little bit of this book here, and hopefully this will be edifying. So this is the book of Susanna, I'll start at verse 1 just a little bit, just to establish context, right? And I'll just jump around just for the sake of time, right? So Susanna, chapter 1, verse 1, and it says, and there dwelt a man in Babylon called Jehoiakim, and he took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Chelcias, a very fair woman, and one that feared the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. And her parents were very righteous and taught her according to the law of Moses, right? So she was trained up and groomed in the ways of, knowing, the laws, so to speak, right? So this to show the type of person she was. It's not like a lot of our people, a lot of us who didn't grow up in the customs, right? So it says, now Jehoiakim was a rich man, and a fair garden joined unto his house. And to him resorted the Jews, because he was more honorable than the others. The same year were appointed two of the ancients of the people to be judges, as the Lord spake of, that wickedness came from Babylon, from ancient judges, who seemed to govern the people. Right? So it says, these kept much at Jehoiakim's house, and all that in any suits in law came to them. Now the people, now when the people, departed away at noon, Susanna went into her husband's garden to walk, right? So she was a married woman, right? And it says, and the two elders saw her going in every day walking, so that their lust was inflamed towards her, and they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes, and they looked not unto heaven, but nor remember just the judgments, right? So essentially they were essentially lusting after her, right? So at that point, they were already committing adultery, right? So you see how these judges' minds were very, very perverse. But this is not really to talk so much about the judges per se. This is more circling about, essentially what happened. So for the sake of time, I want to jump to verse 20, right? So at this point, that lust began to accumulate, and they were like, we want to take her, right? So like there's a scripture that says, don't stumble at a woman's beauty, right? So this is verse 20. So it says, at this point, she's they get to see her alone, right? And that lust kept inflaming them, so to speak. So it says, behold, the garden doors were shut, that no man can see us, and we are in love with thee. Therefore consent unto us and lie with us. If not, we will bear witness against thee that a young man was with thee, and therefore thou didst send away thy handmaids from thee. Then Susanna sighed and said, I am straitened on every side, for if I do this thing, it is death unto me. But if I do it not, I cannot escape your hands. It is better for me to fall into the hands and not do it, than to sin in the sight of the Lord Yahweh, right? So, they kind of gave her like an ultimatum. Okay, you lay with us, or if you don't lay with us, we're gonna create false testimony, bear false witness against you, saying that, you committed adultery, so to speak, and nothing of those things actually happened. But in this situation, it's troubling because she was in a situation where the elders had a bit of status. They're seen as judges, and when you even think about it on an earthly level, the judges in this society they're very I don't want to say the word revered, but people will look to them, so to speak. People are not going to look to, us on the streets, on the highways and byways when it comes to knowing the ways of proper judgment, right? So it says, verse 24. Now with Susanna cried with a loud voice, and then the two elders cried out against her. Then ran one and opened the garden door. So when the servants of the house heard the cry in the garden, they rushed to open the privy door to see what was done to her. But when the elders had declared this matter, the servants were greatly ashamed, for there was never a report made of Susanna. Right, so they spoke and said, "Oh man, they were essentially lying on her name, right?" And it's the same thing, that vocab basically is coming in, that sentiment, that same line upon us, that same sentiment, starting with our apostles and elders on down, it's the same sentiment that essentially Esau even comes with too, right? To justify doing what he does. He promotes and pushes, slander to justify unrighteous decrees, so to speak. Right? So let me get a precept. Just bear with me on this. Okay, this is Luke chapter 23. Okay, this is Luke chapter 23, I'll start at verse 1, points in 4. And it says, Then the entire council of Yahushai took Yahushai, to Pilate, the Roman governor. They began to state their case. This man has been leading our people astray by telling them not to pay their taxes to the Roman government, and by claiming that he is the Messiah, a king. So Pilate asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? Yahushua replied, You have said it. Pilate turned to the leading priests and to the crowd and said, I find nothing wrong with this man. Right? So you see the same sentiment that still happened, with this bearing of false witness. Because, I'm showing some parallels here. I'm showing like quite a few parallels. So I encourage you to just bear with me, because, picture like yourself in the sense of, in Susanna's situation, right? Because we're pretty much kind of like that chaste virgin, right? And then you have, the enemies that are pretty much trying to slander us, make fun of us, accuse us, of doing this and that and this one sort, right? When we haven't done any of these things, right? Just like Yahushai, basically, right? And then the same sentiment still exists today, because those people, they were in the mindset of okay, give us Barabbas, who was an actual criminal, right? When we, Paul says in Corinthians, I've espoused you to one husband, chaste, right? Pure, right? We don't deal with, for example, like different philosophies. We're not people who are trying to be overzealous and overthrow the government and all this kinds of stuff. We live peaceably with all men, like Paul says also, right? But Esau, like, he wants to bring like a slander campaign against that virgin, right? Against, and then that's another thing also. He wants to prick his virgin with that sea hip, with that grain of rice, right? And we're crying out so the Lord will remember us, right? But I'm showing some parallels between the sentiment of us being virgins and us, crying out for our husband to essentially come in and essentially rescue us from the crafty counsel of this devil, because that's what they want to do with this NWO. That's what people like Vocab want to do. They want to push forth a sentiment of, we're this and we're that, when they don't even call out the wickedness of their own people in their system. There was a situation, like, for example, like the example I brought up earlier in regards to the imposters that were, digging in tunnels. What about the those children that get, quote unquote, molested for, by the priests in the Catholic Church? And the Catholic Church recently did this big settlement. I think it was about 800 million or 800 billion dollars. Like, where is the outcry in regards to these things? This is how you show that, Vocab is a complete hypocrite. He is in that sentiment of trying to slander what we say and the way we, quote unquote, conduct ourselves, where we're likened unto virgins, right? But you see the sentiment of the way this devil operates, because he's very crafty and clever with his words. Like the scriptures say that his words were softer than oil, but in his heart was drawing swords, to roughly paraphrase, right? That's the way this devil operates, right? As a matter of fact, let me get another precept before I continue. Um, 1 second. This is Proverbs chapter 17, verse 15, and it says, "He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemneth the just, even they both are an abomination to the Lord Yahweh." In the NLT, it says, "Acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent are both detestable to the Lord." Right? So this is the mindset that people like vocab operate in. These guys are very detestable in the eyes of the Lord, because they're condemning essentially righteous and godly men. And they're also simultaneously, while doing that, acquitting the people like those imposters that are dilly-dally in the land and playing with little children and sucking on little babies' rods and all that kind of stuff. These are the kinds of things that they do. As a matter of fact, you can look this up. That's one of the things that they do. They suck. It's called hold on. I don't want to give y'all brothers wrong information. I know how to spell it, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Hold on. Sorry, I'm going a little off track, but just bear with me. Okay, this is one of the rituals that these people do. It's called Metziza, Zitza, Bipe. Is a Jewish circumcision ritual where a mohel, a ritual circumciser, sucks blood from the baby's circumcision wound using their mouth. It is an addendum to the ritual of the Brit Milah. This is what they do, right? You can look this up. I'm not kidding. It's called Mezitza Bipe, right? This is one of the things that they do. It's a circumcision quote unquote ritual, right? The customs of the heathen are vain. These people are heathens, right? But they want to condemn us for the things that we say, right? Anyways, let me just go back to the story. Sorry, I didn't mean to go too off topic, but where was I? This is okay, this is verse 27, and it says, "But when the elders had declared this matter, the servants were greatly ashamed, for there was never such a report made of Susanna." Right, going back into that evil report. It says, "And it came to pass the next day, when the people were ashamed, to her husband Joachim, the two elders came also full of mischievous imagination against Susanna, to put her to death, and said before the people, Send for Susanna, the daughter of Chelcias, Joachim's wife. And so they sent. So she came with her father and her mother and her children and all her own kindred. Now Susanna was a very delicate woman, beauteous to behold." Right? So it's essentially they were very in shock, right? At the false report that was brought up upon her. But what did she do, though? That's another part of the lesson I kind of wanted to touch on also. So I'm going to jump down to verse 42. And it says, "Then Susanna cried with a loud voice and said, O everlasting power, Yahweh Bashim El Shai, that knowest the secrets and knowest all things, wherefore before they be. Thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me, and behold, I must die. Whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against against me, right? And that's the same way that Esau operates, right? And he's going to do malicious things. And then with Esau's technology also, to add another angle to this, with the AI, you can probably even like, I'm just, speaking as a man, right? Take voice and, try and use the sound and tonality of our voice to try and concoct some sort of information in order to justify bringing forth some unrighteous decree and punish us, right? When we never did any of those things. All we do is really read out all we really do is read out of the Bible, right? We say, thus saith the Lord. We speak according to the Lord's words, right? We're not speaking according to our own heart, right? But a lot of people get offended because it cuts them as a two-edged sword. It judges them, right? So, as a matter of fact, let me get another precept. 1 second. I think it's in Psalms. Okay, this is Psalms 37, verse 14. And it says, the wicked have drawn out the sword and bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. In the NLT, it says, the wicked have drawn their swords and string their bows to kill the poor and the oppressed, and to slaughter those who do right. And that's one of the things, and the I don't want to say it's a downfall, when you live in a society like this, when we depart from evil, like the scriptures say, we make ourselves a prey, because we don't partake in these different evils. And that's what the devil wants. The devil doesn't want us to essentially, walk in an upright fashion, because that's what's threatening. That's what's threatening his system, being in alignment, with our power. The scriptures say that he that teacheth the son grieveth the enemy, right? And that's one of the things that one of his tactics that vocab is basically, doing, because he's grieved in his mind, because like, it's the word is essentially tearing down these different strongholds, because we're not subscribing to that plantation Christianity a lot of us came out of, right? We're not subscribing to these different ideologies, and we're calling upon the name of our power, right? We're standing in alignment with our power, and that's very dangerous. And these heathens know that, even going back to the time of Judith, right? They understood that when we were in alignment with our power, we were threatening. But when we were essentially doing when we were contrary, when our behavior was contrary to the things that we weren't supposed to do, the Lord would use the other nations to mess us up, right? Right. Oh, she prayed. Hold on. Let me get that also. Just for comfort and edification for us, this is Sirach 35, verse 16, and it says, "He that serveth the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds." And that's exactly what Susanna did, right? It says, verse 17, "The prayer of the humble pierceth the clouds till it come nigh. He will not be comforted and will not depart till the Most High behold to judge righteously and execute judgment," right? That's why it's so important to pray, right? Especially in these times, like, you pray before you leave your household, you pray when you get to the destination safely, when you pray to get to your plantation safely, and you pray when you get home safely, just like, Thawada Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, just throw that up there, right? Because in these times you have spirits creative of vengeance, and you have guys like Vocab trying to come and accuse us and say we're this and we're that and we're black and we're far from, and we're a bunch of niggas when we're far from, and all these different slander campaigns, because he's looking, that's what the Esau does. He's looking for an opportunity to have us essentially slip and make us look like the bad guy when they are the bad guy. Right? And it also says, "Until the Most High shall judge righteously and execute judgment." And this is what happened at the end of Susanna's story, because at the end, the Lord put a spirit on Daniel to essentially examine these two elders, right? And to actually execute, fair judgment, right? And that's what we want the Lord to do, on our behalf, to send a judge, to send Yahweh Shai to execute judgment on our behalf, because we're basically, well, not basically, but we're worms, right? So anyways, I guess I'll leave it there, but I sincerely pray, this lesson was edifying. But as a matter of fact, let me read down here. Okay, verse 18, and it says, "For the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai will not be slack, neither will the mighty be patient towards them, until he have smitten in sunder the loins of the unmerciful and repaid vengeance to the heathen, until he have taken away the multitude of the proud and broken the scepter of unrighteousness," right? Yeah, we want the Lord to, jack up these heathens like Vocab and all these different elites of this world, man. Because what they're trying to do is to essentially continue to afflict us, right? And that's a righteous thing. The scriptures say that it is righteous to recompense trouble, that, let me get it. Oh boy. Just excuse my voice. Salakia Akim. What's that? Second Thessalonians 1 verse 6, and it says, "Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High Yahweh to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you," right? And that also includes those guys like what's that guy's name? Fauci. Because recently, he was acquitted, right? But the Lord remembers everything that you did, right? He remembers all your unrighteous decrees. He remembers all the filth that you put forth, and he injected into a lot of our people's bodies, and a lot of our people took those things, right? Yes, on one hand, you can say our people trusted the enemy and they shouldn't have done that, but his wickedness shall not go unpunished, right? So anyways, that's pretty much it. I didn't want to make the lesson too long, but I sincerely pray this was edifying. I kind of went a little bit all over the place, but I, truly and humbly speaking, I hope this lesson was edifying. Just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.